Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take complex information, break it down, and really try to uncover the most important insights for you. Today, we're plunging into something critical and, frankly, fast-moving in global security. That deepening military cooperation between Russia and North Korea.
It's definitely a topic demanding attention right now.
Absolutely. And for this deep dive, we've pulled together some really fascinating sources. We're looking at analysis from CSIS, that's the Center for Strategic and International Studies, the Atlantic Council, too.
Good sources. Respected analysis there.
Right. And we've also got official U.S. government documents, like the White House's Indo-Pacific Strategy, plus insights from the Congressional Research Service, and even checked Wikipedia for some baseline context.
A broad mix, which is good. Gets you different perspectives.
Exactly. So our mission today is really to unpack this alliance. You know, what's in it for each side? What are the specific threats it poses? We're talking Europe, Asia, even the U.S. homeland. And just as crucially, we'll explore the responses. What are the United States and its allies doing? What strategies are they developing to counter this?
Because the response is key.
It is. And one source we looked at calls this relationship, get this, the greatest threat to U.S. national security since the Korean War.
That's a very strong statement. Quite sobering.
It really is. So, okay, let's dig into this.
So what's really striking here is how this relationship goes beyond just simple transactions. It's not just Russia buying shells.
Right.
Sources are describing it as something more systemic. They're calling it a common market of autocracies.
A common market. What exactly does that mean in practice?
Think of it less like a formal treaty and more like a shared ecosystem. These countries are operating largely through barter-like deals, trading goods for goods, tech for resources. And this lets them effectively bypass traditional international financial systems. And crucially, the sanctions meant to constrain them.
So they're creating their own bubble, in a way.
Pretty much. Their own economic and military sphere. It lets both Russia and North Korea support each other's strategic goals and sustain themselves, outside the established global rules.
Okay, so focusing on Russia first, what's the main driver for them? Obviously, it connects to the war in Ukraine.
Oh, absolutely. Primarily, it's about shoring up their military needs there. North Korea has become, a vital supplier.
How vital are we talking?
Our sources estimate they've provided Russia with something like 5 million rounds of ammunition, artillery shells, other munitions, and scores of ballistic missiles, too.
5 million rounds? That's a staggering number.
It is. And some reports suggest North Korea might even be able to produce up to 2 million artillery shells annually. So this support isn't just helpful, it's helping Russia compensate for a really significant monthly munitions shortfall. Without it, Moscow would likely face a much tougher situation logistically. It might even force them into, say, a large-scale domestic mobilization, which could really threaten President Putin's political standing at home.
So it's a pragmatic move for Moscow, born out of necessity.
Exactly. A pragmatic, if perhaps desperate, solution.
Okay, that makes sense for Russia. But what about North Korea? This seems like a massive shift for them, too. What are they getting out of this? This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
Oh, absolutely. For Pyongyang, this is huge. In return, they're seeking crucial advancements, things they've struggled to get because of sanctions.
Like what kind of advancements?
They're after advanced telemetry, for starters. That's the data from missile tests, weapon systems, stuff that helps them improve accuracy and performance. They're also looking for nuclear submarine technology, key military satellite components, and critically advanced ICBM intercontinental ballistic missiles.
Technology with direct implications for, everyone, including the U.S.
Precisely. And the Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines, she's indicated that Moscow might be abandoning long-held non-proliferation norms in these dealings. That's a major red flag.
Abandoning non-proliferation norms, that sounds incredibly dangerous.
It is. This kind of direct, high-level Russian help could allow North Korea to make significant leaps in their WMD program, weapons of mass destruction, maybe in the next 3 to 5 years. Capabilities they probably wouldn't achieve otherwise, or certainly not as quickly.
So North Korea gets this high-level military tech, a huge boost to their strategic goals. But you mentioned earlier, it's not just about the hardware.
No, definitely not. Beyond the military tech, Pyongyang is getting significant economic relief, which they desperately need.
How so?
Sources indicate they're easing severe financial and food crises at home, reportedly receiving things like hundreds of thousands of tons of rice in exchange for those artillery shells.
Rice for shells. A very direct barter.
Exactly. And there's a human element, too. North Korean soldiers deployed to Russia. They're apparently getting a monthly salary around $2,000, plus incentives like joining the Workers' Party of Korea.
That's a powerful draw in North Korea, I imagine.
A huge draw.
Yeah.
In a country with such limited opportunities, that's a significant incentive package.
And for the soldiers themselves, beyond the money, they must be gaining something else.
Absolutely. This gives North Korea's troops invaluable combat experience. And it's a grim opportunity for Pyongyang to test their weapon systems in real-world combat scenarios.
Real-world testing.
Yeah. We've seen this escalate. North Korea actually confirmed back in April 2025 that it sent troops to Russia to fight in Ukraine. Some reports say they've been in clashes in the Kursk region.
Actual North Korean soldiers fighting in Ukraine.
Yes. Estimates vary, but some reports suggested North Korea intended to send around 12,000 troops, including special forces. This kind of battlefield testing for both their people and their gear. They just can't get that anywhere else.
Okay, so we've laid out what the nature of this alliance, what each side gains. Let's zoom out now. What does this all mean for global security? Starting with Europe. How does North Korea showing up with weapons and troops change things there?
Well, for Europe, North Korea's direct military involvement, the weapons, and now the personnel, it significantly exacerbates the conflict in Ukraine. It adds fuel to the fire, basically.
How are these troops being used?
Reports suggest they're integrated into the Russian army, operating under Russian command. There have been confirmed clashes involving them, even captures of North Korean soldiers. So it's not just symbolic, it's a tactical deepening of the war. And this raises really important questions for NATO.
I bet. What's the NATO perspective?
NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has already warned about it. He called this increased cooperation a significant escalation, one that endangers security not just in the Indo-Pacific, but in the Euro-Atlantic area too.
So spillover effects.
Exactly. And the UN Secretary General has also voiced concern about a possible internationalization of the war, meaning it could draw in more outside actors.
That's a deeply worrying prospect. Okay, let's shift focus. The Indo-Pacific. How does this Russia-North Korea alignment impact nuclear and missile proliferation concerns there? That region is already tense.
Immensely.
Yeah.
This alignment directly feeds Kim Jong-un's very ambitious 5-year defense plan.
What's in that plan?
It includes developing new nuclear-capable submarines, tactical nukes, battlefield nuclear weapons, and crucially, putting multiple warheads on a single missile. Plus, improving ICBM accuracy. He even pledged, back in September 2023, to boost nuclear weapons production exponentially.
Exponentially.
Yes. And Russia's potential help here could dramatically speed up North Korea's testing and deployment, especially for those advanced ICBMs, maybe ones with better countermeasures, better reconnaissance capabilities.
What does that mean, practically speaking, for the threat to the U.S. homeland?
It means North Korea could, potentially, develop the capability to target the entire United States with a nuclear force that would be very difficult for Washington to neutralize in a preemptive strike.
That's a major strategic shift.
It is. We saw a glimpse of this, perhaps, with that October 31st, 2024 test. A Hwasong-19 solid propellant ICBM, reportedly with MIRV capability.
MIRV. Multiple independently targetable reentry vehicles.
Exactly. One missile, multiple warheads, different targets, makes missile defense vastly more complicated.
So this relationship doesn't just destabilize Korea and Asia.
No, it directly heightens the threat North Korea poses to the U.S. mainland. And the modernization of Kim's arsenal. That could force a larger U.S. military presence near China, potentially sparking a nuclear domino effect. You might see countries like South Korea seriously reconsidering their own nuclear options.
A nuclear domino effect. And connecting this to international norms, Russia's actions at the UN seem part of this too.
Absolutely. Look at Russia's veto back in March 2024. They blocked the reauthorization of the UN watchdog body on North Korean proliferation.
What's the significance of that veto?
It wasn't just procedural. It looks aimed at dismantling the entire UN sanctions regime against Pyongyang. It further erodes those international non-proliferation norms that have been built up over decades. It basically makes it harder for the world to track and contain North Korea's nuclear program.
Okay, this paints a pretty grim picture. Given all this, how is the United States officially viewing this deepening cooperation? And what are the first steps we've seen in response?
The U.S. definitely views this as a significant threat, a major national security concern. The Biden administration has called North Korea's arms provision a matter of deep concern and warned about a tough response.
And beyond the warnings, what concrete actions are being taken?
Well, one thing is transparency. The U.S. has declassified intelligence satellite imagery, other intel, to show these ties publicly to allies and the world. Beyond that, President Biden has pushed forward a whole battery of new defense exercises with Japan and South Korea, really enhancing deterrence, strengthening those trilateral ties.
And this fits into the broader strategy for the region.
Yes, it aligns directly with the U.S. Indo-Pacific strategy, the one published in February 2022. That strategy emphasizes a free and open Indo-Pacific, connected, prosperous, secure, resilient. These exercises are part of making it secure.
You mentioned the trilateral ties. A key piece of that seems to be the Camp David principles, the pact between the U.S., Japan, and South Korea. How significant is that?
It's very significant.
Okay.
Announced in August 2023, it commits the three countries to collective security. Now, it's not quite NATO's Article 5, that automatic mutual defense clause.
Right, not an automatic trigger.
No, but it establishes a formal casus foederis. Basically, a threat to one is considered a threat against all, requiring the allies to consult and discuss a coordinated response.
So a commitment to consult and coordinate.
Exactly. It builds a strong framework for immediate discussion and unified action. And it's also led to practical improvements like better trilateral ballistic missile defense and more robust military exercises. They've had something like over 60 trilateral meetings since that Camp David summit. It's an ongoing process.
Okay, so that's the U.S., Japan, Korea triangle. What about South Korea itself? They're right there on the front line. How were they adjusting their own military posture?
South Korea, living directly under this growing threat, has adopted a much more, shall we say, offensive military strategy. They summarize it with the acronym PISU.
PISU.
Yeah. Punish immediately, strongly, and almost in utter. It involves what they call a three-axis system.
Okay, what are the three axes?
First is the kill chain platform. That's for preemptive strikes detecting and destroying North Korean missile capabilities before they launch. Second is KMD, the Korea Air and Missile Defense System, for intercepting incoming missiles. And third is KMPR, the Korea Massive Punishment and Retaliation Plan. This includes precision strikes or even special ops aimed specifically at taking out North Korean leadership.
Targeting the leadership directly, that sounds like a major escalation in strategy.
It is. The idea is defensive deterrence, but aiming for a degree of automaticity in the response, and crucially, personalizing the threat, making it clear to Kim Jong-un and his inner circle that they would be targeted.
But personalizing the threat like that, threatening the regime's survival, doesn't that carry enormous risks?
It absolutely does. That's the huge concern experts have. If you make the Kim regime believe their very survival is on the line, does that make them more likely to use nuclear weapons? Not less.
The classic deterrence dilemma.
Exactly. If deterrence fails, or if Pyongyang miscalculates and thinks a regime-ending strike is coming, they might launch a preemptive nuclear attack. It's an incredibly dangerous tightrope to walk. Miscalculation could be catastrophic.
So, given that risk, how do we get around this dilemma? Are there other strategies being suggested in the sources beyond just military deterrence?
Yes, there are several other approaches being discussed. One is mobilizing European allies, perhaps at G7 or NATO meetings, to apply more economic and diplomatic pressure on Pyongyang, squeezing them financially and isolating them further.
Bringing in the Europeans more directly.
Right. There's also a recommendation for regional partners, South Korea, Japan, Australia, to potentially issue a collective defense declaration, saying explicitly a threat to one is a threat to all, formalizing that commitment.
And what about China? They always loom large in this equation.
Indeed. The U.S. hopes to leverage China's likely discomfort with this very close Russia-North Korea relationship. Beijing still holds the keys to North Korea's economic survival, really. They're the economic lifeline. So the thinking is maybe Beijing could be persuaded to join sanctions against companies enabling this weapons trade, especially if they see it destabilizing their own neighborhood.
Interesting. Trying to find common ground with China on this specific issue.
Potentially. It's complex, obviously.
Now, there was one more idea in the sources that really jumped out at me. It sounds unconventional. Launching a major human rights and information campaign involving Europe based on the idea that the Kim regime is, quote, more afraid of BTS than U.S.-South Korean military exercises.
Yeah, that quote definitely catches your attention. It sounds almost flippant, but there's a serious point underneath.
What's the underlying logic?
It highlights a key vulnerability of totalitarian regimes, information control. The idea is that flooding North Korea with outside information, popular culture like K-pop, represented by BTS, and just truthful accounts of the outside world, challenges the regime's narrative.
Undermining their propaganda.
Exactly. It shows the North Korean people a different reality, potentially erodes the regime's internal control, exposes the gap between their lives and the outside world. It's a recognition that influence and change don't just come from military might. Sometimes culture and information can be powerful tools.
A fascinating and perhaps underestimated angle. Okay, this deep dive has certainly covered a lot of ground. We've seen this complex, concerning picture emerge, this common market of autocracies, Russia and North Korea propping each other up militarily and strategically. It poses real challenges across Europe, Asia to the U.S., but we've also seen how the U.S. and its allies are reacting, reinforcing alliances, developing deterrence, while trying to manage those huge escalation risks.
Yeah, what really stands out to me is the speed in the somewhat unorthodox nature of this alignment. It's not playing by the old rules. And that demands equally innovative, adaptive responses from the international community. The stakes, as we've discussed, are just incredibly high, not just for the immediate conflicts, but for those fundamental norms, nonproliferation, international stability itself.
So as you, our listeners, reflect on this, here's maybe a final thought to mull over. In a world where adversaries are finding new ways to cooperate, to get around traditional checks and balances, what entirely new approaches might we need? Beyond the usual toolkit, how do we truly secure a free and open global order in this changing landscape? It's not just a question for governments, it's really a critical moment for global strategic thinking, for all of us.